I'm 63 years old. 3 years ago, I lost my husband. 8 months ago, a wonderful man proposed to me. I said no. My daughter was shocked. My friends couldn't understand it. But I told them something that changed everything. For the first time in my life, I know exactly who I am, and I'm not willing to give that up. If you're a woman over 60 and you've ever felt that getting a boyfriend might cost more than it gives, you're not alone, and you're not wrong. Today, I'm telling you why I will never get a boyfriend after 60, and why you might want to think twice. 2. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you might see your own life completely differently. Let me take you back to when I first realized this. Do you remember when relationships felt simple? When being with someone was just what you did? You got married. You built a life together. You didn't question it much. I lived that way for 42 years, and I loved my husband. I truly did. But something changed after he passed. Not right away, but slowly. It wasn't one big moment. It was small things, quiet realizations. I noticed how much I enjoyed my morning coffee alone, how peaceful my home felt when everything stayed exactly where I put it, how nice it was to eat dinner at 5 p.m. or 9 p.m., whatever I felt like. These weren't complaints, they were discoveries. And here's what I realized. At 63, life looks different than it did at 30, or 40, or even 50. Back then, relationships served many purposes. They gave me companionship, yes, but they also gave me structure, shared responsibility, a sense of direction. I was building something, a family, a home, a future. There was always momentum, always something that needed doing, raising kids, managing a household, working, planning, moving forward. And in all that busyness, the quiet questions didn't have space to surface. But now life has slowed down. The kids are grown. The house is paid off. Retirement has arrived. And suddenly I have time to think, time to notice, time to ask myself questions I never had space for before. Questions like, what do I actually want? Not what I should want. Not what's expected, but what genuinely makes me feel at peace. And here's what I discovered. What I want now is completely different from what I wanted decades ago. When that kind man proposed to me, everyone thought I should say yes. He was wonderful, financially stable, kind, respectful. My family loved him, but I couldn't do it. And here's why. When you enter a romantic relationship at 63, things change. Not dramatically at first. The changes are small, subtle, easy to overlook. Your schedule shifts slightly. Decisions you used to make alone now need discussion. Your home, which felt yours, now becomes a shared space. None of this feels unreasonable. It feels polite, considerate, normal. But here's what nobody talks about. Independence isn't lost in one big moment. It's redistributed in small increments. Let me tell you what happened during those 8 months of dating. My morning routine changed. I used to wake up early, have slow mornings with my coffee, and read the newspaper. But he was an early riser who liked to talk in the morning. So I started adjusting. Small thing, right? My evenings change. D2. I love reading at night, sometimes until midnight. But he went to bed at 10 p.m. and expected me to come to bed with him. So I started going to bed earlier. Again, a small thing. I started watching the shows he liked, cooking the meals he preferred, planning my days around his schedule, and none of this was his fault. He never demanded these things. I just did them, because that's what you do in a relationship, right? You compromise, you adjust, you accommodate. But here's what I realized. After spending 42 years doing exactly that, I didn't want to do it anymore. Think about your daily rhythm. Maybe you like waking up early, having slow mornings. Or maybe you're a night owl who enjoys staying up late reading. In a relationship, those rhythms get negotiated. And after years, maybe decades, of living according to someone else's schedule, I finally reached a point where I just wanted to live according to my own. And that's not selfish. That's self-awareness. Let me tell you about my friend Barbara. She's 70. She was married for 40 years before her husband passed. She loved him deeply, mourned him deeply. 2 years later, she started dating again, met a kind man. They got along well. Her family loved him. Her friends thought it was wonderful. But after 6 months, Barbara ended it. When I asked her why, she said, I realized I was changing myself again. Little things. I was watching the shows he liked, cooking the meals he preferred, planning my days around his schedule, and I thought, I've already done this for 40 years. Do I want to do it again? The answer was no. Not because he was bad, but because Barbara had finally learned something important. She liked her life exactly as it was. This is what so many of us are realizing. After decades of compromise, after years of considering someone else's needs first, after a lifetime of adjusting and accommodating, we're discovering something powerful. We like ourselves. We like our independence. And we're not willing to trade it, not even for companionship. Now, I know what you might be thinking. But isn't being alone lonely? Here's the thing. Being alone and being lonely are not the same. Loneliness is a feeling. It's emotional emptiness. A sense that something's missing. But being alone, that's just a fact. And for me, being alone doesn't feel empty at all. It feels peaceful. I have coffee with friends when I want. I visit my daughter and grandkids regularly. I'm part of a book club. I volunteer at the community center. I'm not isolated. I'm just not partnered. And there's a huge difference. Let me be clear about something important. This isn't about rejecting relationships entirely. It's about understanding what they cost. Because relationships require emotional energy. And emotional energy feels different at 63 than it did at 30. It's not that I have less of it. It's that I'm more aware of how it's spent. Think about it this way. When you're younger, emotional effort just happens. You're busy with work, with kids, with a million things, listening to your partner, adjusting to their moods, managing conflicts. It all just blends into the busyness of life. But at this age, when things are quieter, emotional labor stands out more. Every conversation takes energy. Every compromise requires thought. Every mood you manage, yours or theirs, draws from your reserves. And those reserves, they're more precious. Now, I've learned that my emotional energy isn't unlimited. It needs to be restored through quiet time, through solitude, through unstructured, peaceful hours where I don't have to think about anyone else. This creates a dilemma. Asterisk. Companionship offers warmth and connection. ... But it also requires constant emotional engagement. And when your energy is limited, even meaningful connections can start to feel demanding. During those 8 months of dating, I noticed I was always tired. Not physically tired, emotionally tired. I realized that just being in a relationship, even a good one, was draining something from me that I needed for myself. And that's when I knew I couldn't do it. There's something else that changed. My sense of identity. After decades of living, I finally know who I am. I've spent years figuring it out. Years stripping away what doesn't fit. Years of understanding my own values, my own limits, my own truth. And that identity, it's precious. It took time to build, time to reclaim, especially after spending years defining myself through other people, through being a wife, a mother, a caregiver. Now, finally, I'm just me. And here's what I realized. A romantic relationship changes that identity again, not in big ways, but in small, constant ways. You start considering someone else's preferences. You adjust your language, your plans, your daily choices. Even when it's loving and mutual, there's a gentle pull toward merging. And after spending so long becoming myself, I just don't want to merge anymore. I want to stay whole, stay clear, stay self-defined. I spent 42 years as we... Now, I'm finally just me... And I like me. That's not cold... That's clarity now. I want to be really clear about something. None of this means relationships are bad. None of this means women who choose partnership are wrong. This is simply about recognizing that at this stage of life, you have a choice. And that choice is informed by experience, by knowing what compromise feels like over time, by understanding what you're willing to adjust and what you're not. Earlier in life, I said yes to partnership because it was expected, because it felt like the next step, because being alone seemed scary. But now, now I know that being alone isn't scary. It's just different. And for me, it's actually better. So what does this mean for you? If you're a woman over 60 and you're a set, thinking about relationships, here's my advice. First, be honest with yourself. Ask, what do I actually want? Not what I should want. Not what my kids want for me. Not what society expects. But what genuinely makes me feel at peace. Do you want companionship? Or do you want the idea of companionship because you think you should? There's a difference. Second, understand the cost. Every choice has a price. Partnership offers connection, but it costs independence. Solitude offers freedom, but it means less daily companionship. Neither choice is wrong, but you need to know what you're trading. Ask yourself, what am I willing to give up? And what am I absolutely not willing to compromise on? Third, trust your gut. If something feels off, even if it looks good on paper, listen to that feeling. You've lived long enough to know when something isn't right. Don't ignore that wisdom. Fourth, permit yourself. Permission to want what you want. Permission to say no. Permission to choose yourself. You've spent decades considering other people. It's okay to consider yourself now. And finally, remember this. You are not obligated to a partnership. You can be completely whole, completely fulfilled, completely content on your own. Your value doesn't come from being part of a couple. It comes from being you. Let me share what happened after I said no to that proposal. My daughter came to visit. She sat me down and said, "Mum, are you sure? He's such a good man. Don't you want companionship?" And I told her, I wake up every morning and do exactly what I want. I read for hours. I garden. I have coffee with friends when I feel like it. I travel when I want. My life is completely mine. And for the first time, I'm not willing to give that up for anyone. I paused, then added, that doesn't make me selfish. It makes me honest. And you know what? She got it. She actually understood. There's a quiet revolution happening among women over 60. A revolution of self-knowledge, of choosing peace over partnership, of understanding that we've earned the right to live life on our own terms. This isn't about being anti-relationship. It's about being pro-self. It's about recognizing that we've given enough, compromised enough, adjusted enough, and now, Now it's our turn to simply be. If this resonates with you, I want you to know something important. You're not alone. You're not broken. You're not missing out. You're simply choosing differently. And that choice is valid. So here's what I want you to do. Take a moment today, sit quietly, and ask yourself, am I happy with my life as it is? Not could it be better with someone else? But am I genuinely content right now? If the answer is yes, then you already have everything you need. You don't need to add anything. You don't need to change anything. You don't need to find anyone. You're complete as you are. And if the answer is no, if you do want companionship, that's okay too. But enter it with your eyes open. Know what it costs. Know what you're willing to trade. Make the choice consciously. Not out of fear or loneliness or expectation. Make it because it genuinely adds to your life, not because you think it should. Here's what I want you to remember. At 65, 70, 75 and beyond, you have earned the right to choose yourself. You've spent decades caring for others. Now you get to care for you. You've spent years compromising. Now you get to stand firm. You've spent a lifetime becoming who you are. Now you get to protect that person. And if that means choosing independence over partnership, that's not just okay. That's wisdom. I'm 63. I said no to a wonderful man, and I've never been happier. Not because I don't value love, but because I finally value myself more. Tell me in the comments, do you feel this way? Are you choosing yourself at this stage of life? Or are you in a relationship that genuinely adds to your happiness? I read every single comment, and I want to hear your story, because your experience matters. Your choice matters. You matter. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.